Welcome back to Let's Talk About It, the Candid Conversation Show. My name is Muriel.
And my name is Ruby.
And on the show, we discuss topics that are unspoken and taboo in our community. Our guest this evening is Muhammad Bilal, former educator, African American director, writer, and producer. We will be discussing his trauma, healing, and film.
Welcome to the show, Muhammad.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Now, congratulations are in order. Your latest film, The Blue Cave, has been accepted into 20 festivals and has already received 8 awards in 2021.
Yes, already.
Yes,
I'm
already.
very blessed and fortunate.
You're blessed, definitely. We always ask the guests to tell us a little bit about their childhood, but your story stems from your latest movie.
Right, yeah. My film is it's exactly about my childhood.
Yes.
I had a pretty hard childhood because I experienced a lot of gang violence. I was a target of gang violence constantly.
Yeah. So sorry about that you had to experience that.
Yeah, so from being, I would say about 8, I started getting into fights.
Wow.
And it continued through my teenage years. To compound that, I also experienced child abuse throughout. You know, some of the relationships my mother got with, she married a guy who was addicted to drugs.
Oh, no.
He was a functional drug addict, so you wouldn't really know, but he was very abusive. So I was dealing with child abuse in the home, and then also I was dealing with gang violence
in the streets.
Outside.
I think the hardest thing for me, though, growing up, was not having the support from my mother who was there.
Yeah.
I always expect that, no matter what, to have that support come from mom. I didn't really get that. What I did get, some good things I did have growing up, she did instill a lot of values in me as far as education, not doing drugs, not being in a gang. So there was some lessons and structure, but there was also a lot of abuse that growing up as a young man. Single-headed household for most of my childhood. The communities we lived in on the south side of Chicago were not safe communities. I give you an example. Growing up, I thought until I took the Constitution test in 8th grade that it was okay for a police officer to grab you and smack you up for any reason growing up as a kid. I thought that was normal.
You thought it was
until
normal.
I got and took the Constitution test in 8th grade. I started understanding also they're not supposed to be doing that.
No.
But so a lot of dysfunction, I guess it was normal, you know? So when I went to friends' houses as I got older and 8th grade and high school, I started saying that it's not normal for you to smack you because you disagree or because you express how you're feeling.
Right.
So I grew up in a household where you were just supposed to accept things. You don't talk back. You do what you're told. The adult is always right.
Right.
But I did have an outlet growing up. I was able to, the arts. That was one thing my mother was big into. So we was into African dance and theater.
Oh,
so
nice.
that's my only outlet
Right.
as a kid growing up.
Okay. That's a nice outlet.
And in high school was much better because I went to a performing arts high school.
Awesome.
Okay.
So, and then I also went to, my high school was very mixed income and mixed race.
Okay.
I began to see a little more, I would say, functional families. Nobody's perfect.
No.
Supportive parents, families with different incomes. Some of the kids were well off. So that's when I started getting exposed to different environments and started seeing there could be a better life beyond what I was in my community.
Okay.
But yeah, it was harsh. There was a lot of trauma I experienced growing up as a kid and a young man also.
So you say trauma. What is it that, if you don't mind sharing with us, what was the trauma?
Oh, wow. So my mother, I didn't understand it because, again, until you start learning different and hearing differently, a lot of the physical discipline I got wasn't because of the behavior. This is me because I'm a parent and I understand how kids can get to you, but you have to control yourself and understand the kids.
Right.
If I dropped a cup or spilled something, that could be an extension cord whooping.
Oh, no.
Or a belt whooping.
That's abuse.
You know, that's abuse.
Yes.
Didn't necessarily know that because people like the family, that's what they were doing. And that's how the generation before me, that's how they came up.
Yes.
You know, and then like I would be told, don't report that, because if you report it, you're going to be in a foster home.
Exactly. Away from your family.
So I just would suck it up.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, in the community, I lived in communities where if you weren't in the gang, you're going to be a victim of the gang.
Oh, boy.
So either you're in the gang or you're a target of the gang.
Right.
So that was the trauma I was dealing with. Physical abuse. Wasn't a lot of validation. A lot of negativity. You know, if you didn't look a certain way, or I even grew up in that era. So I was born in 1980. I'm 41 now. But there was colorism even then.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
In the 80s, so I think it went away in the 90s. Wesley Snipes, you know, it was okay to be dark. But when you're forming your self-esteem, when I was young, being dark was ugly. Not having curly hair like some of the other guys.
Right.
You know, I think I was dealing with that too. And that was kind of traumatic because I had issues with how I looked growing up.
Self-image.
Right. And then my mother, she, you know, had her own issues. So she wasn't the most supportive because she had things that she was working through.
Okay.
With dealing with herself and then dealing with other siblings I had.
Okay.
It was 6 of us. We had 6 siblings.
Oh, boy, that's a big family.
Usually the siblings who were getting in the most trouble were getting the most attention.
Okay.
You know, so I wasn't really getting a lot of support. So, I mean, all of that stuff, the self-image, the violence, feeling rejected also. My father also wasn't in the picture.
Okay.
So when they divorced when I was 5, he didn't really come around. So there was just a lot of physical, emotional, and mental trauma I was experiencing.
You were going through a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit. Which I didn't really understand then. You just think you got a hard life. But looking back, and even looking at the film, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I went through that.
Yeah.
But how much of the film really is the whole entire thing based on your story? Really? All of that we saw?
Yeah, you know what? And it's funny, I kind of watered it down because I didn't want it to be too dirty. Some people like, did you add? Like, no, actually some stuff I didn't put in there because I wanted to focus on my journey as a young man.
Okay.
And not to, you know, I didn't show, for example, too much between the relationship of my mother and her husband, my stepdad.
You left that out.
That would have been heavy because the way he spoke to her and some of the other stuff that I would hear on a regular basis, you know, that would have been a whole nother film.
So everyone in the house was going through something.
Oh yeah, for sure. My sister, she had a child at 14, my oldest sister.
Okay.
Then I had other siblings too. Also, so you know, in 30-minute film, I couldn't show as much.
Everything, right?
Right. So I had to really narrow things down for the film.
Okay.
But it captured most of what I was.
What you were going through.
Everything in there happened.
Okay.
So
but everything in the film happened.
Happened.
It took place.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're elite.
In the kitchen, when you were being held by your throat, what were you feeling as a young child at that time?
Abandonment. I knew what was going to happen because I was fighting so much. Like I would say just about every day. And eventually 2 things happens if you're fighting all the time. It's either gonna break you or you're just gonna get tough and learn how to fight well. Even though mentally it does do something to you that you're being attacked all the time.
Right.
The thing that bothered me in the kitchen, it wasn't even so much being choked, it was the fact that my mother did nothing.
That's what I was gonna ask.
She just stood there and watched.
My mother was a Black Panther.
Oh, my goodness.
She owned guns and would tell us how she could use every gun and very educated woman.
And this is going on and she does nothing.
I've seen her fight people. She's only 5'2". I've seen her like jump in to and actually beat somebody up. Be like, damn, huh? But for her to stand there.
Right. And do nothing.
That's what bothered me the most. She did nothing. She just watched.
Do you think she froze? Do you think she was scared of him?
Scared for her life. Maybe.
I think she was afraid of being alone. I really feel like she wanted to have a traditional household because she was a practicing Muslim.
Okay.
But she wanted the man to lead, but he wasn't.
Not every man can lead.
Exactly. Because like he wasn't working, he was living off her, he was disrespectful to her, he was just abusive. And I just couldn't understand why he was even there. So for me in the kitchen, the thing that bothered me the most was that she didn't do anything.
She didn't do anything. What?
Right.
The part that got me is I was literally screaming at the TV when when you were fighting. I'm not going to go in detail, but when you were fighting, I said, "Oh my goodness."
You had to.
Don't give up. Understand, I was 14. I said 16 because I didn't want to make the film too dark.
Right,
but you were 14.
I hadn't finished 8th grade yet when that
Oh my goodness.
So this was at 14, and you know, most 14-year-olds are riding bikes and having fun, but I had to fight
every day.
And it could have went another way.
It could have.
So I was blessed it went the way it went. It literally could have a whole nother way.
It definitely could have.
You know? Right. Wow. So I was blessed that, I wasn't thinking about that at 14, but at 41 back, like I really could have been hurt.
Yes, very much so.
Did you ever think that you would make it out? That either you would hurt yourself or that, you know, your stepfather or gang, or did you think you would ever make it out?
I did.
Good.
I did.
Okay.
I think it's really funny to me and it's interesting. And that's how it's leading to another script that I just finished about healing. I had more confidence then than I do probably even now.
Really?
It could be because you don't know the world when you're young. So you feel like once I get past this, I'm good. But yeah, I believe that I was going to make it through and I was going to be okay.
Wow.
You know? So I focused on the one thing I say my mother did give me was the emphasis on education and the arts.
And arts, right.
I was right, and I was like, I'm gonna write my way out of this. Like, I'm, you know, I'm not gonna be like them. So I did have a stubbornness as a young man where I wasn't gonna give in to what they was doing.
Exactly. So that really happened. You were literally writing as a child. Well,
all the time.
Isn't that
all the time? But it was a struggle just to find a safe place to write.
To write it, yes. Can you imagine if somebody picked that up?
And then like there was noise in the house. I couldn't really go outside. And then if he didn't have anything to do with my stepdad, I would become his punching bag.
Wow.
You know, he was unhappy. He was unhappy. He was, like I said, he was a washed up musician.
Right.
And he was on drugs. He wasn't really happy with himself.
Right.
You know, and the thing that kind of bothered me about my mom, she was actually a director at a clinic.
Oh, wow.
He was coming in to get tested because he used to share needles.
Oh my gosh.
This is the man she brought home.
This is the man she fell in love with?
And brought home, yes.
And brought home for around her kids.
She knew it wasn't like this was a hidden thing, like he got on drugs after they were together or she didn't know about it. She knew he was a drug addict.
I wonder what was going through her mind.
Did she have mental health issues herself?
She's never gotten therapy and she experienced a lot of abuse growing up.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, she still won't talk about it to this day.
Okay.
Which is why we have a very estranged relationship. And I've had to get therapy for that because that's a difficult thing to accept.
I definitely was going to ask you that question. How is your relationship with your mother? How is the family relationship, your brothers, your sisters?
Father?
My brothers talk to me and my sisters not so much because my mother is a strong woman who provides.
Okay.
So my sister's single. She does everything for them.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So as my mother goes, so does my sisters.
I see.
Right. No matter what.
Like a pack.
Yeah.
If she doesn't talk to me, they don't. My brothers, they do talk to me because they kind of get shunned also. They more or less went through the same thing
Okay.
that I went through. I did have a relationship with my father, but up until 5 or 6. Once they divorced, he relocated back to New York. And then I barely saw him.
Okay.
Maybe I saw him 2 or 3 times between 6 and 21.
Okay.
So he wasn't in. And he married someone else.
Okay.
They both were addicted to drugs.
Wow.
So when I was going through abuse at home with my mother,
Right.
and you know, her husband, I moved with my dad.
Okay.
And then I saw that he was on drugs, his wife was on drugs. And his wife didn't want me there because she felt I looked too much like my mother. And you know, me being there was an attempt to get them back together.
Oh, okay. That's what she thought.
So yeah. So I ended up going back to live with my mom.
Okay.
So there wasn't a lot of protection and support, you know, growing up.
Where did you get your strength from though? How did you make it out? Where did you get that strength? Was it,
Keep going.
to keep going, to keep moving? Because it's like you had nowhere to go. Your mom, you had such, you were being abused there. Your dad, 2 drug users there. Like, what do? How did you keep going?
Well, one, I was always really stubborn. Like my mother tell you, I was always stubborn, and told me something, I had to see it for myself.
Okay.
So a lot of stuff, I just always had questions and didn't necessarily, that's why I couldn't join the gang, to be perfectly honest with you. It wasn't because I was some really good boy who had like awesome morals. I just couldn't buy in. It didn't make sense to me.
Right.
Okay.
They couldn't rationalize certain things. So if some didn't make sense to me, I couldn't follow it.
Right.
Okay.
So a lot of the stuff that I was seeing around me, I kind of felt like once I got old enough, as long as I worked hard in school, I would be able to just get away from it.
Right.
Okay.
So I think that was one thing that kept me going. Another thing was I always had a teacher. There always was one teacher who was inspirational or who would tell me positive things.
Okay, good.
Miss Reed, Dr. Reed, one teacher specifically, saw through some of my misbehaviors. Like one teacher, which is interesting because as an educator, usually there's more supports for kids now.
Right.
Yes, they are.
But I had one teacher who pulled me to the side and tried to really figure out what was going on with me.
Okay.
Versus giving me a suspension, So there was a teacher. And then I would say the biggest thing though was the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Oh, okay.
That really was inspirational for me. Because I did kind of have this thing where like some adults who would talk to me, I kind of didn't believe them or listen to them because it's like, what is your life like? You don't know what I'm going through.
Right.
But I think when I saw Malcolm X, and then all the students who read it could go see the movie, that was like a gift when I was in 7th grade. Once I saw it, I'm like, if he could become who he became,
absolutely,
after what he went through, what I'm going through is nothing.
Exactly.
I just stay determined and stay put.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I'll tell you, it's difficult because I did feel like a misfit growing up. Because again, a lot of the people who were around me, they were doing very different things that I just wasn't into.
Right.
So that would make me feel depressed also.
Yeah.
Feeling like I just didn't fit.
That you didn't fit in.
Which is why I did so much of the writing.
Yes.
Yeah. I would just write a lot and kind of just try to mentally and creatively just go somewhere else.
Right. Well, you're highly educated as well. I'm looking at this back wall here.
All these degrees.
All these degrees. You pushed yourself. You really pushed yourself.
It's just the best light in the department.
It looks really nice.
Yeah. It's a good outlet. Like I said, by the time I was 25, I had 3 degrees, and then I went back a couple years ago to do the 4th one in film because I always wanted to do film.
Right.
Yes.
Education. I'm passionate about it, but film was always I always wanted to do it. And a lot of people thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was Ubering while film school because it was so flexible.
You did it.
I couldn't even do, like I do education, consulting, and coaching, but I couldn't do it because the film schedule is so demanding. I started Ubering a lot of the time because I was, on sets around the clock doing these student films.
Well, it worked, right?
And, I would talk to people. Yeah, it worked. I would talk to people and, they would say, well, what else did you do? As if you can't be educated in Uber, right? I was like, well, I was the principal and a teacher. And it's like, well, what did you do? Did you touch a kid or something? Why are you Ubering?
Oh my gosh.
I want to do film.
That's right.
I left.
That's your love.
A lot of people struggle with the idea of you leaving comfortability to take risks to do something you love.
Right.
So for me, it was like, that's not my dream to be a principal. Like I love that work. I actually want to do film. So it's worth the drop in salary for me to do this while I'm still young enough and I still have that fire to do it.
That's right.
That's right.
And you're great at it.
That is
Thank
great.
You're welcome. I want to ask you, do you feel that certain things now as an adult trigger you?
I'm aware of the triggers.
Okay.
You know how to control it.
I'll see it. If something's triggering me, I usually I have to take a step
back. Exactly.
When I was younger, I was quick to cut people off, like in my 20s and teens.
Yes.
If it was a trigger or if I felt like they was going to abandon me, I would just
cut it off.
before they had a chance.
Walk away from it.
Right.
I get it.
or, you know, I would just avoid things and just go do something else. I'll just go take a trip. Let me go to Paris.
Right.
Just anything. But as I got older, that stuff doesn't work anymore.
You learn how to deal with it.
Right. I had to deal with it. So with therapy, I'm much more aware of triggers.
Yes,
Okay,
thank
that's
God for therapy.
The triggers tell you what you need to heal too. So the things that trigger me, those are things that I'll go to therapy and talk about.
That's right.
And when I unpack it, it's something from my childhood.
And you find yourself crying, I'm sure, quite a bit.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Therapy will do that.
But yeah, it started happening. That's when I got therapy. That started happening a lot when I was in my late 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just crying out of the blue.
So that's what made you go, I need to go see someone. I need to speak to someone.
That, and then I started feeling guilty. So like if somebody came at me, I would come back double. I'm not even talking about fighting. If you tried to diss me or people at work trying to, oh man, I would.
You had the last word.
I was the Mayor Claire Huxtable. I would cut you down, all the way down. But then I started feeling bad doing that. You know, being vindictive, it starts to make me feel worse about myself. But a lot of that just came mature, and having kids too. Having kids humbles you also.
It absolutely does. And you want to get better for them.
Exactly. And I have 3 daughters, so.
Oh, wow.
Oh, sweet.
I think nothing's more humbling than a man having daughters.
With girls.
There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of gray. It's not just black and white. It's a lot of daughters. So it made me a better man, I think.
Absolutely.
How did they feel? Did you ever tell them about what happened, or did they see it from
the movie,
the film?
I would tell my daughters everything. Like I never really. Right. And that's always the type of person I've been.
Yeah.
Like we could,
You're
like
open.
their mother would get jealous sometimes because they would bring stuff to me that usually a daughter would go to a mom about.
Right.
You know, but like, yeah, I would tell them everything.
Very
good. You know, that was age appropriate, of course, but like they would understand things.
Okay.
I was never a parent who would just say because I said so. You know.
Right.
Unless it was washing the dishes. Like, no, we're not talking.
Go wash them dishes.
Right. They're dirty. That's why.
That's right.
Question for you. Sometimes if a person goes through something as a child, a lot of times they become that person.
Right. Unless they check it and get therapy and
there you go.
Really see how this isn't the right way. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I made mistakes as a parent, but you know,
we all do.
I definitely started to reflect like, okay, come sit down, let's talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
Good.
Very good.
What you did was wrong, but I should not have responded like this.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
Glad you told me the truth. This is how that made me feel. How did it make you feel? So at least I started to create an environment where they felt they could be open and tell me things. And then I wanted them to see that nobody's perfect. So parents make mistakes.
Good.
Absolutely. There's no manual.
Our parents don't admit that though. I would actually admit it.
Me too.
But interestingly enough, the biggest struggle I've had with my daughters was like I don't tell my daughters negative things about their mom.
That's right.
That's great.
It's between us.
Right.
But sometimes if the other parent they're not over the emotional heartache and some things.
Yes.
I'll just say there's been some stuff that I've had to talk to my daughters about where I'm like, wait, what?
Right.
I took somebody else on prom.
Right.
You mad? Your mother told you. She's still talking about that? So
she's still hurt over that?
My struggle with my daughters. It's actually been re-litigating stuff that happened between me and their mom in high school.
Right.
High school,
let it go.
And I'm like, she's still talking about that?
He has to go to therapy.
Let it go.
Right. Yeah, I took someone else on prom. I was 17. But for mom, it's still immediate. So, you know, just talking to my daughters about that because I think they're still at an age where they could be influenced. And they're definitely around mom more than around me. Okay. But even when they're around me, I don't tell them everything.
No, you don't need to.
No, it's not their business.
Certain things I just like, you don't need to hear about that.
Right.
Yes.
You know?
Right. That's how it should be. But I think that happens a lot of times in relationships because I can tell that same story. That's why I raised my hand a little bit that I can tell that story because I've been divorced now for some years, you know, and my ex-husband is still talking negative, saying negative things about me to my own children. Like, stop it already.
Right. How old are your children?
18 and 16.
She had to think.
Yeah, I had to think about it. Like, stop doing that. Don't do that to your kids. If you have a problem with me, just say something to me, but why do that to your children?
Or get a therapist, because I feel like at some point
He won't get a therapist.
you can't
He needs
hold
one.
somebody hostage.
There you go.
You can't hold somebody hostage over something they did, and I see people do that. Like,
Right.
I know parents who were on drugs and they did everything in their power to get right. They went to rehab. They spoiled their kids. They do everything.
Right.
And the minute they set up a boundary and tell their child no, these are adult kids my age. They will bring up when you were on drugs when I was 7. It's like
stop it.
It becomes very manipulative.
Yes.
Right.
There you go.
Sometimes people will take trauma and use it to try to control somebody.
That's the truth.
Who's trying to do right. I've seen that all.
Yeah,
I've seen that quite a bit with even friends I have.
it's true.
Your mom does everything because she won't let you use the car. You're going to
Throw that in her face.
past.
Right. Yeah, it's not right.
Stop
That's
it.
abusive.
It is.
Abusive.
That
to
is.
your mom. That's not right.
No,
Because
it's
she
not.
healed. She healed. She overcame whatever she was going through. She overcame that. Like, come on.
Therapy is necessary in
she's
these
been
type
there.
of situations, but it's a repetitive cycle.
People want to get it.
There you
want
go.
to get it. Some
Yeah,
people
some don't. They don't believe
They
in
like
it.
to stay in it.
Yes.
Exactly.
You're right about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, they want to stay in it.
Yeah. That's their power. Their
Yeah.
power is their anger. They
Yeah.
want to stay in it.
Wow.
And
Be angry by yourself, right? Be angry by yourself.
I'm happy over
Yeah.
here.
I'm doing good over here. I'm happy.
Can't talk
You be
about this
angry
no
over
more.
there.
So- exactly. Exactly.
What do you want people to take away from the Blue Cave? I just loved it.
I mean, there's so many things, but the biggest thing is that you can determine your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have trauma. Nobody's born physically a slave.
Right.
Mentally, we got
Right.
shackles I have to remove. But I feel like as long as you have a vision for your life and you cling to that vision, you can have that life. It may be hard, it may be difficult, but you can do it.
Yes.
That's right.
So have a vision for your life that goes beyond your current circumstances. And if you fight for it and
Yes.
stick to it, it'll happen. I think that's the biggest thing, because I think that was, even watching it over and over, that was the biggest thread I saw. Like,
Okay.
even watching myself, like, he's
Right.
just not going to let anybody break him.
Right.
That's good.
So I
Because you
think
were
that's
strong,
the
though.
thing.
You had a strong mind. There's a lot of people that don't
Yeah.
have that.
And that's something I really can't explain, because I know people who I talk to, they'll tell me things they went through, and they're trying to find that one thing that I had that they didn't have. And I'm like, no, I really
Don't
didn't.
compare. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got a supportive. No, I really I didn't. So I think in that sense, I was blessed.
Yeah.
Yes,
That
definitely.
mentally I couldn't break. I think it was a blessing. But I can't really point to one thing.
Yeah.
But again, the takeaway is that, self-determination, that's
There you
something you have. You determine who you're going to be. You can't determine your circumstances, and you can't always control what happens to you, but it's up to you to decide how you respond to it
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
and how you're going to live your life. Are you going to let them break you or deter you from what
What you're
so you
supposed to
just
be
have
doing.
to fight for what you want. I think
Exactly.
that's the biggest thing I want people
To
to
take
take from
away.
the film.
Okay. I want to know how you felt when you were standing in front of the gang, standing up to them. How did you feel?
I didn't care at that point.
You didn't care.
Enough
Yeah.
is enough,
Yeah,
right?
you could see it. It's like you just said, forget it.
And this is
Yeah.
this is true, and it's so amazing, because when I was thinking of a script to write for my thesis. This was my thesis film, and I started thinking about my story growing up. I'm like, damn, this is a movie.
Yes.
Like everything how it happened. Because after they shot at me, it was like, what else can you do? If
Nothing.
they're gonna do this, I have nowhere to hide. Like I'm
Right.
getting beat up in the house. They're doing this.
My goodness.
They'll find
Let's
you.
just have it out. Right. I'm gonna come to you now.
Yeah.
Once and for
So
all,
at that, I was so fed up. I really didn't care.
Yeah, it showed.
Like there's nowhere to run anymore.
No.
And, I think I snapped in that respect.
Okay. Enough
Yeah.
is enough.
I was done being a victim.
There you go. You stood up for yourself.
You're done. Anybody who's experienced any child abuse, domestic violence, or any type of persecution, like at some point, it's
You
like
have to stand up for yourself.
That's it. You're like, that's it. Yeah, I'm
I'm
done.
not afraid of nothing you can do to me. That's it.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I felt back there. I really,
Yeah.
I was fearless at that.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were a giant at that point.
And I
You were
knew-
Incredible Hulk at that point.
And I wanted it to stop. I was so done with it. I was willing to deal with whatever came. Like,
Wow.
I got to deal with this.
Yes.
You know, and I feel like the people who were persecuting me, from my stepfather to the gangs, as I show in the film, they were only able to do that because of fear.
Okay.
Because you'll notice in the movie, after they beat him up, that wasn't enough.
Right.
Because I hit two, right? Like Ali in the film, he hits two of them.
Right.
That wasn't enough. So even though they beat him up, they're still coming back
Still
to shoot
coming
him.
back.
That
It's
wasn't
like,
enough.
no, he's not afraid enough. So
Wow.
I feel like once you take the fear, and I tried to show this in the film, once you take the fear from
Out.
people who are abusers,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have any,
They have anything.
Right.
they
I
only
believe that.
thrive off, that's all they have.
Yeah,
Yes.
I believe that. Do you have? Is your stepfather? He's still living?
Yeah, he's actually, it's interesting. He's a jazz musician in Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw him on Facebook. I didn't say anything to him
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
I forgive him for myself. So
Right,
there's
right.
No
You
reason
have
Yeah, you have to.
know,
Mhm.
Right.
yeah,
So
it's
him
done.
and your mom are still
Yeah.
together?
No. When I was 21, when I was in grad school, the first time, that's when they separated.
Okay.
They divorced.
Yeah.
But they ended up having a child together. And he, you know, he hasn't really been there for my younger sister at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And I think that's why I say my mother has her own trauma,
Right.
because she was in a relationship with men who did not stick around and do what they were supposed to do.
Supposed to do.
Right.
So
They
there-
weren't responsible. Yeah.
there's trauma there with her. Yeah.
Mhm.
Something that I had to deal with in my own therapy. Like, you got to understand your mother's also a person.
Absolutely.
and
Correct.
She has her own trauma
Right.
unpacked.
I hope
So-
she's getting some assistance. I hope she's getting some help.
I hope so. She's
Yeah.
72. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you're never too old. You're never too old to
Right.
get some.
But like, I'm here whenever she wants to heal things. But right now,
Right.
you know, that's a two-way thing.
Right.
Yes.
Correct. You can't
You
do it by
can't-
yourself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we have to look forward to as far as the next movie?
The next film, Perdido, which means lost in Spanish, is dealing with a young man who had a life like Ali, coming from a family and a background of abuse,
Okay.
and he's suppressed
Mm.
through his success. So this is kind of close to home.
Yeah.
So he suppressed it by having a very successful life, but he's triggered and things start to resurface, and it forces him to go get therapy. to deal with it.
Mm.
Okay.
You know,
Good.
police brutality is going to be involved.
Good.
Okay. Good.
That's going to be a triggering event. Somebody who loves gets killed by a police officer,
Mm-hmm.
and it just, a lot of things start surfacing in his life from his childhood, and he has to deal with it.
Okay.
So it's dealing with mental health.
Yeah.
Good.
Awesome.
The next film that I'm going to do.
We
Very
need more
good.
of that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. We
very
really
good.
do.
We need more of that.
And this film, The Blue Cave, though, is going to be it premiered already in LA
Yes.
last month.
Uh-huh.
Next, on the 12th, it's going to be at TCL Chinese Theaters again, where they have the Oscars.
Right.
Morris Chestnut is hosting the event. It's called Indie Night.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
So it's going to be screened there. That's pretty cool with Morris Chestnut hosting everything.
Yes.
It's only 5 films.
That's amazing.
My film is one of the 5.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Hats off to you.
Thanks. And then we're also in the Charlotte Black Film Festival on the 25th and the 26th of this month.
So it's
Wow.
moving,
So-
isn't it? It's moving.
Yeah.
Did you think it
It's
would get to
moving.
this point? Did you think it would even get there?
Yes, I'm sure.
I felt it would go. So you don't know. I kind of felt like it was a good story.
Mm-hmm.
It's been good,
Good.
and I'm excited to do the next film. I'm very
Yeah.
excited to do.
We're excited to see it.
Exactly. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna have a candid minute with you. If
Mm-hmm.
you can tell us, what would you tell your younger self today? What would you tell your younger self?
I probably would tell my younger self to just stay more focused. You know, it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say it's not about you, I mean, you living your life, stuff affects you, but all the things happening to you and the people who are doing things to you, they have their own issues.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just doing it to you.
Absolutely.
They're doing it to others. They're doing it
Yes.
to themselves.
Yes.
So don't think that they just did this to you because there's something wrong with you. No, this
Right.
is how these people live. Some people have dysfunctional lives.
Mm-hmm.
The world can be dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think what's happening to you is only happening to you.
Right.
You know, you still have to stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to be open to people who earn your trust and people who care about you. And you can't let what others did to you and how others view you make you view yourself that way and convince you that the world sees you that way.
Okay.
Because I think that was one of my weaknesses growing up. I thought the way my mother treated me and saw me and my stepfather, that's how everyone saw me.
Right.
No, that
And
wasn't the case.
I started to see myself like that. But everyone doesn't see me that way.
No.
And, you know, I now I don't see myself that way, but growing up I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be the advice I would give myself. You know, don't let others' opinions of you become your opinions of yourself.
That's right.
Love it.
And make a film a lot earlier. Don't
Yes.
wait. till
Don't wait.
38.
You second guessed yourself?
Start
Is that
now.
what it was?
Do something now.
Do it now.
young man. 14. Do it with the camera. Make a film. Do it now.
Were you
Yes.
scared? Did you second guess yourself? Is that what it was?
When I second guessed myself a lot.
Yeah.
I definitely think there was some self-esteem issues.
There you go.
Clearly, that's why I felt like I had to go above and beyond and keep building this security.
Right.
Because you know, confidence usually comes from home.
Right.
It's usually mom and dad, especially mom.
Mhm.
Yes.
'Cause
Right.
mom will say it's good even when it's off.
That's right.
You know. For a while, yeah, I did. I used to do things that I felt were more safe and secure.
Yes.
You know,
Well, you did it now.
I would tell myself, take risks now. Do it now.
Yes. I like that.
When you don't have bills.
Yeah, well, before you start getting bills, right? When you have some money.
Right. Bills and kids.
There you go. There you go. That they
You
take
can't-
they take it all. Can
All of it, right?
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Can you let the viewers know how they can contact you?
Oh, they can contact me. They can go on to Instagram is probably the best way.
Okay.
Because I'd stay on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's the Blue Cave, and that's an underscore after every word. So the underscore blue underscore cave underscore. So it's 3 underscores.
Okay.
And all the updates on the film is right there. And I also have another Instagram. It's Bilal World Entertainment. It's one word, one big word.
Okay.
Bilal World Entertainment. BILAL World Entertainment.
Okay.
So that's why I put all the updates, and you know I respond within minutes usually.
Okay. Good.
Or hours at most. Instagram. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Great.
So all the updates will be there on this film and the next films also.
Okay.
Well, we're looking forward to it.
Yes. Looking forward to it, and
Yes.
we wish you all the best.
We will definitely be in contact. And we hope that we'll have you back for the
Thanks
next
for having
one.
me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
being here.
We want to thank you for joining us this evening. Please tune in next Tuesday at 6 p.m. for another empowering and uplifting testimony. In closing, even though Muhammad had a very traumatic past, he did not let that hold him back from achieving his dreams. He turned his pain into purpose by putting pen to paper and creating award-winning films. Healing does not mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls our lives. We truly thank you for tuning in to Candid Conversations.
Go. Let's go.
Come on.